Football is back at IG Field, but the starters are not. Good morning, afternoon, and evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the second of two preseason videos on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. This one a home game against the Saskatchewan Roughriders. So first things first, this is kind of a new format that I tried in the other video, but this is something I'm kind of looking to roll forward with for these Bomber videos. I want to know what you guys think. It's a bit more, I guess, professional with, a bit better lighting and, an actual mic. However, I want some feedback, and as well feedback on the thumbnails, as well as it's going to be a little bit different, unless obviously everyone's begging me to go back to the old. I just want a bit of your feedback on that from you guys. But the Bombers lose 28-16 to the Saskatchewan Roughriders. So this sucks in the sense of it sucks whenever we lose to the Riders. Thankfully, this is just a preseason game, though, and the Bombers really don't play very much here. If I just pull up the depth chart here, and these are all the starters that are dressed. Keep in mind, a lot of these guys didn't even touch the field. So they dressed Johnny Augustine, Wolotarski, who would normally be a starter, but with the receiving core this year, no. And then, sorry, my phone. And then Agadosi, but he's not. They dressed Bailey. I think he maybe came out for one play. They dressed Jeff Gray on the offensive line and Liam Dobson, who's going to be a starter this season. Willie Jefferson, who did not play. Jake Thomas, who played one play, and that was it. And then Shane Gauthier, who did play a bit in the first half, but then they took him out afterwards. And then after that, Castillo and Leggio and Mike Benson. That's it. That's all they played. They didn't play anything else. So, to be honest, I'm not too disappointed for the fact that, especially, Saskatchewan, a lot of this game we rolled with Drew Brown for a bit, and then we played. I guess I'm getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. I'll talk about the game in depth the way I normally do. However, so for the pregame, Caleros was not even dressing for this game. He did dress for the last game. He just and he played a little bit, but we didn't even have him dressed tonight. Drew Brown gets the start, and Trevor Harris gets the start for the Riders. Riders start with their starting quarterback. Bombers would go on a rushed kind of start, and that drive ends up short. The Riders would end up pushing downfield. And then a little bit thing I was noticing here with our defensive line was the D-line got off to a bit of a rough start. Excuse me. And that's because they kept trying to beat them wide. So if you don't know, for D-line, they have with O-line, all the gaps are numbered. There's the 1, the 2, all these sorts of things, all the odd numbers on one side, all the even on the other side. With the defense, it doesn't really matter as much. It's just A, B, C, D. A on both sides and going outwards. The A gap is the gaps between the center and the guard on both sides. And I really wish that our D tackles kind of would try attacking that spot. Now, obviously, this goes a bit on the defensive coordinator here. However, it's one of those things where it's they just kept splitting you every time, to the point where Trevor Harris was getting some runs down the field and Mason Fine would get some of those later in the game. So it's one of those things where I wish we had a little bit of variation with what we used for strategies on the D lines, or a little bit of a knock on our defensive coordinator for not switching up the D line a bit. But I understand when you're playing these guys that are either rookies or not starters, they're not going to be as familiar with the playbook, all that sort of thing. There would be a big pass from Harris to Walker, and the Saskatchewan Roughriders would get the first touchdown of the game. Riders get the touchdown. They would then miss the convert. However, there would be a really good kickoff return, but the Bombers get an illegal blocking penalty.
Good return. Come on. That's a nice kick, yeah.
It's a very good kick. Oh, beat him wide, beat him wide, beat him wide, beat him wide, beat him wide. Go! Keep going! There you go! Yeah! There we go! Awesome return. Awesome. Schmidt comes in and punts for the Bombers to get that going afterwards. And then at this point, Mason Finewood goes in. Now, the interesting thing here is that the announcer actually at IG Field didn't even notice this. The next few plays, he still was saying, incomplete pass by Trevor Harris or whatever. It was like, no, Mason Fine's on the field. He eventually got it right, actually, after I mentioned it, funny enough. However, it is what it is. We all make mistakes. And then Cole would have a really good return after a missed 37-yard field goal. And, buddy, know your slice. Know your slice.
Oh, did he miss again?
And that would be it for the first quarter. We're going to go into the second quarter here, and we'd have a good catch by Agadosi to get us starting and gets us in the red zone. And then at this point, so the Bombers keep trying to push. They can't quite get it. So Castillo goes in for the field goal, which at this point, I had actually forgot that we actually dressed Castillo.
Okay.
There we go.
I don't think it's Castillo. I don't think it's Castillo.
It's preseason. Gets the field goal, gets the Bombers on the board. Sheehan would go for a punt after it being kind of back and forth a bit. And it was a rough punt. Like, it maybe went like 20 yards forward, about 50 yards to the left, or to the right, sorry. And so it's one of those things, it happens. It happens to the best of us. And that would sadly be it for Sheehan that night. And so I think they saw enough, which you feel bad for him, but, that's kind of how it works, And then at this point, I had noticed that Saskatchewan had started rotating in Patterson there with Mason Fine. They would kind of swap out here and there. Mostly Mason Fine playing, but Patterson would go in for a few plays here and there, just kind of randomly almost. And then our defensive back, Jamal Parker, would go out with an injury at this point. I didn't see the exact play, although it was definitely a leg injury. It looked like he was having some issues with one of his knees, so hopefully he's okay. But we would then, the Riders would get going. We would go offside, and that puts Saskatchewan in the red zone with a first down. And it's one of those things where you hate taking penalties. You really hate taking penalties in those key spots on the field if you're going to force your opponents into your own red zone. It's not a good thing, and the Saskatchewan Roughriders would capitalize on that, getting the touchdown.
Stop him! Stop him! Stop him! Ah, damn it!
Riders get the touchdown. However, they would miss the convert again, making this a 12-3 game for the Riders. It go back and forth a bit. And Demario Houston, I was getting a little bit of annoyed with him at this point because there was a few plays where he got beat where, like, the ball is coming, get a hand up, something, cause some sort of disruption for that receiver. I'm not saying interfere with him. I'm not saying push him. But get a hand up, get something in the way. If you can tip that ball and slightly change its course, or if you can put that hand up, maybe possibly block it altogether, or maybe even distract, I don't know, something. Just running by there and just standing around wasn't really getting us something. It was something I was just kind of noticing there with Demario Houston. But it wasn't just him. I'm just mentioning because that's kind of the name I saw at the time. It is what it is. So that was it for the first half. Decent half, but like not really. Like we just didn't really get anything going. And so it would get better-ish as the game went on. But let's go into the third quarter here. Saskatchewan, we get a drive down the field to start. And then there would be a good forced fumble by us for a loss of 8 for Saskatchewan.
Caesar.
Get it! So at this point, good play, and the Riders would go for the field goal and make it 15-3 for Saskatchewan. So good to at least keep them away from that touchdown. At this point, I saw Pigram is in, Tyrell Pigram. I was very, very excited to see him go in. I had heard very, very good things about him in that game against Edmonton, and I see what people were talking about. This guy is good. I like what he offers. I could see him even as possibly a number 2. And so there would be 3 really good straight runs from Pigram, and then Pigram would have a really nice connection with Amar Jones. And it's funny, I forgot to mention that actually was the touchdown there. And then at that point, we put in Chandler Staton, which is, I believe in the title of this video, I said Staton around, because this is a guy who he's probably not going to play, so I have to do a title with someone who's like that. Kicks the convert wide and misses, so the game is 18-9 for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Riders would go down the field. They get themselves another field goal, making this 21-9 for Saskatchewan. Pigram then comes back in, makes a good connection with Agadosi.
I was about to say, if he doesn't catch that, that's totally PI. Nice catch, nice catch.
The Bombers continue that drive going into the 4th quarter of the game. Bombers got to get it going, and a good way to start the quarter is by getting that touchdown.
Come on, there we go! Hey!
Let's go!
Let's go!
Let's go!
Let's tie the game, baby! Let's tie the game, baby!
Let's tie the game, baby!
Woo!
Bombers get the touchdown. Leggio comes in and actually hits the convert. I was glad to see that. 21-16 for the Roughriders. Riders at this point start to sub in Delagala for their quarterback. And then Jay Kelly on defense. Wow, what a hit. Just drops a guy. Jay Kelly with a nice hard hit. Whew, that looked painful, but it's unfortunate though, because that sadly wasn't enough to stop the Riders' drive as they would go down and get themselves another touchdown.
Come on, boys, big stuff!
Damn it!
Riders got themselves again. The Bombers would then take a procedure and too many men penalty on the convert. Both are declined though, as the Riders nail the convert. As it is good, and it is now 28-16 for Saskatchewan. The score would stay that way. Josh Jones would go in as QB here for the Bombers for a bit. Didn't really do too much. Didn't really have a chance to do a whole lot. And the Riders were basically at this point, they were running the ball to kill time. There would be a turnover on downs, but the time would expire. That would be about it. But overall, it was an okay game. There were some good looks. There were some good looks. I liked the way, actually Jordan Salima at running back. I actually really like what he was being able to put together. He had really caused some problems there for the Riders, and I'd be curious to see. He's a guy who's got a good amount of speed, did well as a returner, and overall not too disappointed. Or not as a returner. As a returner. I'm trying to remember. He played a bit of a returner and a bit of running back, so it's kind of all over the place. But overall, not like an amazing game by any means by the Bombers, but it's one of those things where there were so many pieces missing from the lineup, and Saskatchewan is definitely playing a lot more of their starters, and it was pretty obvious that they were, especially in the results. So the fact that we were able to, get like 2 touchdowns or whatever and put up a bit of fight here and there, I'm not too disappointed with that. I'm still very, very excited with the squad that we have going into this season. And I'd be curious to see if any of these guys end up in it. I hope, what's his name? I think it was Jamal Parker is okay from that injury. But let me know what you guys thought of this Bombers game in the comment section down below. Let me know what you guys thought about the way that this was recorded and done. I know it's a bit different than some of the other stuff. And I will see you guys next time.